The day a cop thought he was untouchable. Until he wasn't. The courtroom was packed. Tension hung heavy in the air. Lawyers whispered with their clients. Reporters scrambled for quotes, and the soft clicking of cameras was like distant thunder. The media had descended in full force. But the quiet buzz of activity wasn't what made the air crackle that morning. It was the sense that something significant was about to happen. And for Officer Bradley Tate, that something would change his life forever. He stood at the defendant's table, pale and visibly shaken, staring straight ahead as the judge read the jury's verdict. Only days before, Bradley had been barking orders, throwing his weight around like he always did, strutting through the courthouse like he owned it. He believed he was invincible. After all, he'd spent over a decade on the police force, and in his mind, that uniform was a badge of ultimate authority. He was used to being the one in control. He was used to people fearing him. But today, no one feared him. No one respected him. And most importantly, no one was standing by him. How did it come to this? How had Bradley Tate, a once respected police officer, ended up on trial for abuse of power, assault, and obstruction of justice? It all began with one decision. A single moment of arrogance that spiraled into something he could never have imagined. This is the story of how Bradley Tate destroyed his own career and his life by crossing the wrong woman at the wrong time. The courthouse incident. It was a Thursday morning. The Travis County Courthouse in Austin was buzzing with more activity than usual. A high-profile trial had drawn attention from every major news outlet in Texas. The defendant was a young black man named Darius King, accused of burglary. The case had racial undertones that ignited public debate. Protesters and supporters were stationed outside. Police presence had been increased, and Bradley Tate was assigned as one of the lead officers for security. Bradley had been on the force for over 10 years. In his mind, he'd earned the right to act however he wanted. His presence was domineering. He walked the courthouse halls like they belonged to him. He believed black people, particularly young black men, were always trouble, and he wasn't subtle about it. As he made his rounds, he scanned the crowd. Defendants in cuffs, public defenders shuffling papers, reporters huddled in corners. Everything was orderly, under his control, just the way he liked it. Until he saw her. A black woman, late 40s, maybe early 50s. She walked with calm confidence, her steps measured and deliberate. She wore a tailored navy blue suit, minimal jewelry, and low-heeled black shoes. Her presence was striking. She wasn't hurried, nor did she carry the nervous energy of most visitors. She looked like she belonged, and that unsettled him. Bradley narrowed his eyes. Something about her made him uneasy. In his experience, black women in courthouses were usually there to support defendants, protest, or agitate. To him, they weren't legitimate, unless they were witnesses or lawyers, and even then, he found reasons to doubt them. Without thinking, Bradley moved toward her, blocking the entrance to the courtroom with his body. "Stop," he said sharply. The woman paused, lifting her gaze to meet his. Her eyes were steady, unreadable. "Yes, officer." Bradley crossed his arms over his chest. "I need to see your ID. What are you doing here?" There was no fear in her expression, no nervous glances. She didn't even blink. Slowly, she opened her handbag and pulled out a slim leather wallet, holding it loosely in her hand. But before offering it to him, she asked, "Do you request identification from everyone who enters the courtroom?" Bradley smirked. "Only when I have a reason." Her head tilted, just slightly. "And what's your reason in this case?" That question poked at something deep inside him. She wasn't supposed to challenge him. She was supposed to obey. "Because I need to know you have legitimate business here," he said, his tone laced with disdain. She held his gaze a moment longer before flipping open her wallet and holding out her ID. He didn't bother reading it. He barely glanced at it before shoving it back toward her. "Open your bag," he snapped. Her brows lifted slightly. "Do you have a warrant?" "I don't need a warrant when I'm providing security," he shot back. She said nothing. She simply held out her bag, and Bradley yanked it from her hand. He rummaged through it in plain view of several stunned onlookers. Inside was a notebook, a pair of sunglasses, a cell phone, and a few personal documents. Nothing suspicious. But Bradley wasn't about to back down. Not now. Typical, he sneered. No respect for the law. The woman remained silent. "You need to leave," he barked. Now. When she didn't move, he stepped closer, invading her personal space. "I said leave, or I'll remove you myself." She took a calm breath. then spoke. I have the right to be here. You have no authority to remove me unless I'm breaking the law. Bradley clenched his jaw. This wasn't how these encounters were supposed to go. His authority wasn't supposed to be questioned. Who do you think you are? He growled. The woman gave a faint, cold smile. That's the wrong question, officer. He bristled. Backup requested. Bradley said into his radio, keeping his eyes locked on her. Non-compliant individual at courtroom 3. Within minutes, 2 other officers arrived. Bradley was quick to take command. This woman is refusing to leave. Remove her. One of the younger officers, a rookie named Jason Cruz, frowned. What's the charge? Bradley snapped. She refused a lawful order. That's enough. The woman exhaled softly. Do you really want to do this? Bradley's patience snapped. Escort her out. Now. That's when she pulled out another wallet. This one bore a gold badge and a government seal. My name is Victoria Hale, she said, her voice like steel wrapped in silk. Senior Special Agent, FBI. For a moment, no one moved. Then a ripple of whispers spread through the crowd. The 2 backup officers froze. Jason Cruz looked like he'd been punched in the gut. Bradley stared at the badge, the letters FBI glaring back at him. This is a joke, he stammered. Agent Hale slipped the badge back into her pocket. It's not. The fallout begins. The courthouse lobby erupted into chaos. Bystanders muttered and filmed with their phones. Reporters jotted down notes furiously. Officer Tate's face turned red, then pale. Within minutes, his radio crackled. Officer Tate, report to command immediately. His supervisor, Captain Dean Walters, was standing at the main doors, flanked by FBI agents in tactical gear. Walters' expression was thunderous. What the hell have you done? He barked. Bradley tried to salvage the situation. Sir, I was following protocol. You're done, Walters growled. Turn in your badge. Bradley's hands shook as he removed his badge and gun, handing them over. Before he could even process what was happening, 2 FBI agents cuffed his wrists. You're under arrest, Agent Hale said calmly. For obstruction of justice, abuse of power, and assault on a federal officer. The interrogation. Bradley was taken to an FBI field office. Seated in an interrogation room, his hands cuffed to a cold metal table, he faced 2 agents, James Carter and Rebecca Mendez. Officer Tate, Carter began. We've been investigating you for a while. Bradley's stomach dropped. What? You thought you could keep getting away with it, Mendez said coolly. You were wrong. They showed him footage. Dozens of incidents where he'd overstepped. Videos of him roughing up black teenagers, illegally searching people, intimidating witnesses. Testimonies from citizens he'd harassed, many of whom had filed complaints that mysteriously disappeared. Bradley's hands trembled. I was doing my job, he insisted. No, Carter said, leaning forward. You were abusing your power. His fellow officers had turned on him. Statements from his partners claimed they distanced themselves from his behavior. He was alone. The trial. A month later, the trial began. Federal court was standing room only. Victims testified. Videos played on giant screens for the jury to watch. Bradley sat at the defense table, dressed in an orange jumpsuit. He barely recognized himself. Gaunt. Hollow-eyed. The jury deliberated for hours. When they returned, the courtroom fell silent. Guilty, the foreman announced. On all counts. Judge Benjamin Harris sentenced him to 5 years in federal prison. The end of Bradley Tate. As he was led away in handcuffs, Bradley turned to Agent Hale. Please, he begged. I'm sorry. She didn't answer. She didn't even blink. She simply turned and walked away. Bradley Tate's fall from grace was complete. Once feared, now disgraced. The lesson. Power is a responsibility, not a shield. When it's abused, there are consequences. And sometimes, those consequences arrive wearing a badge you never expected.